one of the more pressure-filled jobs in agriculture, and that is president of the American Farm Bureau Federation. It goes without saying that these days, current President Bob Stallman has a lot on his plate. From advocating for a new farm bill to making sure that your voice is heard, Stallman is dedicated to getting farmers what they need. During the recent American Farm Bureau meeting in Nashville, the Georgia Farm Monitor had the opportunity to sit down with Stallman and discuss the major issues facing agriculture. Of course, 2012, very difficult year for agriculture. You had the drought, presidential election year, a lot of farming issues got pushed aside. How excited are you to put 2012 in the rearview mirror and move on to 2013?
Well, 2012 was a tough year. I'm hoping 2013 will be better, and I can look back at the end of 2013 and say I was glad we could put 2012 in the mirror. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. Not a lot was done in 2012. It was a very intense political election year. The Farm Bill was a casualty of that. We should have had a 5-year Farm Bill. We didn't. We got a 1-year extension. But we do have the opportunity now in a non-election year of 2013 of moving forward and completing the 5-year Farm Bill. So that may provide us some opportunity to get something that will provide some certainty for farmers and ranchers.
And what do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Farm Bureau for the upcoming year?
You know, I get asked the question about biggest challenge, and then there's so many big ones, it's always hard to choose. The Farm Bill is obviously one. Another one is immigration reform, trying to figure out a way to have an agricultural guest worker program that works for farmers in this country. That's going to be a huge issue, and I think for the first time in a long time, there's a window of opportunity to pursue that. We will have constant and continuing battles relative to regulation. That's not going to go away. We may win a battle here, win a battle there, something else will pop up, and we'll have to then work on that. And the key to all of this is to be sure that we don't get a regulatory regime put in place on agriculture that makes it almost impossible and uneconomical to farm. And that's a real threat that will continue.
Now, of course, the current Farm Bill extension expires September 30th. What is your gut feeling beyond that? Do you see another extension, or can they finally get together and come up with that 5-year agreement and 5-year deal?
I think, at least I'm optimistic, and I think that we will get a 5-year Farm Bill, because you can't, it just takes up too much time and energy to continually, do an extension. And it's patently unfair to farmers and ranchers to have to deal with that environment. We need a lot more certainty. People don't think we plan ahead, I guess. We don't just wake up one morning and decide what to go plant. You have to deal with suppliers. You have to order your supplies, your seeds, your fertilizer. You have to get your financing from the bank. All of that doesn't just happen immediately. You put together your farm plan and then you work at it from there. And so I think all of those factors combined are going to lead us to having a new 5-year Farm Bill. The biggest question will be is what are the budget dollars associated with that Farm Bill?
You mentioned earlier in your speech about bridging that gap between the farmer and the consumer. With the advent of social media, TV programs like this, over the last 10, 15 years, have you seen that gap get any closer, or is it getting farther apart?
We've done a lot of research, the U.S. Farmers and Ranchers Alliance, to try to assess how much that knowledge gap is there, really there. It's a big one. It's still there. But we're trying some new techniques and something that seems to resonate with consumers to engage with them and answer their concerns and questions about agriculture, how we raise and grow the food they eat. Are there long-term health consequences? Is it safe? Things that we have always taken for granted as farmers and ranchers that we thought consumers knew. Well, it's a different world now. Consumers are farther and further removed from agriculture, and it's necessary for us to establish bonds with them, between consumers and farmers and ranchers, very directly, open their questions very honestly, forthrightly acknowledge their concerns, and at the same time give them an opportunity to see and experience what we do. That's how we're going to solve this problem of this growing distrust with consumers.